I didn't know Paddy Pimblett had a chin like that till tonight. Absolute dogfight in a war. And
Las Vegas just witnessed something special. On January 24th, 2026, at UFC 324, Justin Gaethje stepped into the octagon against Paddy Pimblett in a fight that had the entire MMA world watching. Pimblett, the charismatic Liverpudlian who came in with 7 straight UFC wins and a dream of becoming Britain's 4th UFC champion, met a force he simply wasn't ready for. Gaethje, at 37 years old, rolled back the years with a vintage performance that left Pimblett bloodied, battered, and heading straight to the hospital. The judges scored it 48-47, 49-46, and 49-46 for Gaethje, who claimed the interim lightweight title for the second time in his career. But the scorecards don't tell the real story. What happened in that cage over 25 brutal minutes revealed exactly why fighters across the lightweight division feel a knot in their stomach when they hear Gaethje's name. Pimblett, who famously declared that Scousers don't get knocked out, got dropped 3 times. His face swelled beyond recognition. His right eye became a grotesque mess of cuts and bruising. And yet, somehow, he survived to the final bell. After the fight, UFC CEO Dana White sent Pimblett straight to the hospital, saying he took punishment from a guy who knocks everybody out. Pimblett himself stood in the octagon, face resembling something from a horror movie, and admitted that Gaethje hit him with a body shot to the solar plexus in the first round that nearly broke him.
He hit me with I'm not gonna lie, he hit me with a body shot in that first round. He hit me right in the solar plexus.
The Brit showed heart and toughness, but he also showed the world what happens when you step into the fire with the highlight. Gaethje didn't just win a belt that see history, and twice before accepting a fight with him, to deep, dark waters and drowning them there. His fighting style breaks the fundamental rule most coaches teach: protect yourself at all times. Gaethje doesn't care about protection. He cares about destruction. Against ambled back up, but the message was sent. Round 2 brought more chaos. Gaethje put Pimblett on the canvas again, this time with ground and pound that had the crowd gasping. Blood poured from Pimblett's eye. His corner panicked between rounds, begging him to take Gaethje down. But here's the thing about fighting Gaethje: he controls the type of fight you have. Despite being a 2-time Arizona State high school wrestling champion and an NCAA Division I All-American, Gaethje rarely wrestles. He doesn't need to. His pressure, his pace, and his power force opponents to fight his fight. By the 4th round, Pimblett was exhausted, bleeding, and running on pure heart. Gaethje dropped him for a 3rd time with a vicious combination. Most fighters would have wilted. Pimblett somehow kept coming. That's what Gaethje does to people. He doesn't just beat them, he tests their soul, and very few pass that test. The fear Gaethje inspires isn't about getting knocked out. Fighters know knockouts happen. The fear is about the journey to get there. It's about 25 minutes of relentless violence. It's about leg kicks that cripple. It's about body shots that steal your breath. It's about a pace that never slows. Eddie Alvarez fought Gaethje at UFC 218 in 2017 in what many consider one of the greatest fights in UFC. Escaping with a victory, but he told reporters afterward that Gaethje's spirit is stronger than anyone else's. He described fighting Gaethje as being caught in a tornado of chaos. Most fighters try to avoid damage. Gaethje welcomes it, knowing he can inflict far more in return. Luis Palomino fought Gaethje twice in 2015 for the World Series of Fighting Championship. Palomino is a knockout artist who has ended fights with single punches. He dropped Gaethje, he hit him with everything, and Gaethje kept walking forward like a zombie. Palomino described it as not normal. He said something is mentally wrong with Gaethje, but in a way that makes him unstoppable. When you throw your best shot and watch your opponent smile and keep coming, that breaks something inside you. That's the Gaethje effect. There's a reason Gaethje has earned a post-fight bonus in all 15 of his UFC appearances. That's the highest bonuses per fight rate in UFC history. He's tied with Edson Barboza and Dustin Poirier for the most Fight of the Night bonuses ever, with 10. 5 of his fights have been named Fight of the Year by multiple media outlets. Against Michael Johnson, Eddie Alvarez, Dustin Poirier, Michael Chandler, and Max Holloway, Gaethje for decades. But these bonuses come at a cost of their all-out war. After the fight, Poirier revealed that Gaethje's leg kicks had partially torn his quadriceps muscle. Despite winning, Poirier was damaged in a way that would affect him for months. That's what happens in a Gaethje fight. Win or lose, you leave different than you came in. Michael Chandler faced Gaethje at UFC 268 in November 2021. It never happened. Chandler described Gaethje's stance and defensive positioning as making takedowns nearly impossible. Every time Chandler thought he had an opening, Gaethje would duck his head and throw wild overhangs that kept distance. Chandler eventually lost a decision after 3 rounds of absolute chaos. After the fight, in the medical tent, Chandler overheard Gaethje complaining about his leg. Chandler pulled the curtain back and said, "I hurt the best leg kicker in the game." Gaethje confirmed it. Even in victory, Gaethje pays a price, but he never complains. He never makes excuses. He just shows up and fights. The mental warfare begins long before fight night. Fighters know what they're signing up for. They watch the tapes, they see the brutality, and they have to decide if they're willing to go there. Nick Newell fought Gaethje at WSOF 11 in 2014 and landed clean knockout shots 3 times. Newell has knocked people out before. He knows what it feels like to land that perfect punch. He hit Gaethje with a knee, a head kick, and an uppercut, all clean. Gaethje's eyes looked a little out of it, but he kept moving forward with intense pressure. Newell described it as next-level toughness. Before the fight, Newell told Gaethje he thought he'd knock him out. Gaethje's response was chilling. "It's bound to happen sooner or later. If you were to do it, that would be awesome. That's not normal. Fighters are supposed to be confident in their invincibility." Gaethje accepts the possibility of getting knocked out and still walks into war with a smile. That mentality is terrifying. Jesse S. Cavalcante fought Gaethje at WSOF 3 in 2013 and described him as young and reckless, throwing everything with full power. Even back then, Gaethje's approach was clear: maximum violence, maximum effort. Cavalcante thought his experience would carry him through. Instead, Gaethje opened a cut on his forehead with a knee, and the fight was stopped. Years later, Cavalcante said Gaethje seemed like he didn't care about losing. He was just going all out. But after Gaethje's 5-round war with Tony Ferguson in 2020, Cavalcante changed his assessment. He realized Gaethje had evolved. Makes Gaethje so dangerous today. Even legends admit Gaethje hits differently. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he choked out Conor McGregor. He faced killers and never looked worried. But when Khabib talks about Gaethje, his tone changes. On Mike Tyson's podcast in August 2021, Khabib said Gaethje hits like a truck. Nobody hit him harder. Not McGregor's legendary left hand. Not Poirier's polished boxing. Gaethje. Khabib described taking a right uppercut and left hook combination from Gaethje that was the hardest he'd ever been hit. And Khabib's response in the cage? He told Gaethje, "Brother, is this everything you have?" That broke Gaethje mentally. When your absolute best shot doesn't faze someone, doubt creeps in. Khabib said he could see Gaethje getting tired at the end of the first round. He told Gaethje it was jet lag from coming to Abu Dhabi only a week before the fight. Khabib eventually submitted Gaethje in round 2, but the respect was clear. Years later, in 2023, Khabib repeated the same story on the PBD podcast. He emphasized that while Gaethje hits like a truck, it was the mental breakdown that sealed the fight. Still, the fact that Khabib names Gaethje as his hardest hitter above everyone else in his career speaks volumes. This is a man who barely got touched in 29 professional fights, and the one who landed the hardest was Gaethje. For any fighter stepping in with Gaethje, knowing that even Khabib felt his power is a heavy psychological burden. At 37 years old, Gaethje just became the oldest fighter in UFC history to win a lightweight title. That's not a testament to luck. That's a testament to evolution. Early in his career, Gaethje was pure violence with little regard for defense. His coach, Trevor Wittman, changed that. After back-to-back losses to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier in 2017 and 2018, Wittman sat down with Gaethje and asked if his purpose was still to be the most exciting fighter in the world. Gaethje's answer, "Not really, coach. I want to be a UFC champion." From that point forward, Gaethje became more selective about when to trade punches. He's still a pressure fighter, but he takes fewer unnecessary risks. He calculates his chaos. That evolution showed against Paddy Pimblett. Gaethje's game plan was simple: put his head on Pimblett's chest and push him backward. But in the first round, Gaethje admitted he lost control and looked for the knockout. His coach was upset with him after round 1. Gaethje had to pull himself back and trust the process. By the later rounds, the strategy worked. Pimblett was exhausted, damaged, and fighting on instinct alone. Gaethje's ability to combine his natural violence with strategic discipline makes him more dangerous than ever. He's not the young wild man anymore. He's a veteran killer who knows exactly what he's doing. The physical damage Gaethje inflicts is real and lasting. Paddy Pimblett uploaded a video to YouTube 1 week after UFC 324 showing his recovery. His face was still bruised, confused. His eyes were still healing from what he described as scratched corneas from eye pokes during the fight. Pimblett joked that he said before the fight he wanted to make Gaethje's face look different, but instead, Gaethje made his face look different. The swelling was so bad that photos of Pimblett the day after the fight went viral, with people shocked at the transformation. Pimblett insisted he was fine, but he admitted he hadn't watched the fight back yet because he was still annoyed with himself. That's the psychological scar Gaethje leaves. It's not just the physical beating, it's the mental replay of wondering what you could have done differently. Pimblett said he learned a lot from the fight already and plans to return in the summer, but he also admitted he hopes to run it back with Gaethje in the future because there were things in the fight that pissed him off. That's classic post-Gaethje trauma. Fighters want revenge, but they also know what they're signing up for. Dustin Poirier has fought Gaethje twice. Their first fight in 2018 was a war that Poirier won by TKO in round 4. But Poirier's quad was partially torn from Gaethje's leg kicks. Their rematch at UFC 291 in 2023 for the BMF title went differently. Gaethje landed a head kick knockout in round 2 that became one of the most brutal finishes of the year. Poirier, one of the toughest fighters in the sport, got starched. That kind of power doesn't just hurt your body, it hurts your confidence going forward. What separates Gaethje from everyone else is his relationship with pain. Most fighters tolerate pain. Gaethje craves it. In interviews, he's described fighting as the closest thing to being in a primal state. He's not thinking, he's reacting. He's not there mentally. He's in a zone of pure destruction. Before his fight with Paddy Pimblett, Gaethje said on ESPN that his biggest mistake against Max Holloway at UFC 300 was treating it like a spectacle fight instead of a serious threat. He didn't tap into his primal competitive nature. Against Holloway, Gaethje actually saw his opponent's face, which he said he never does. When Gaethje fights at his best, he doesn't retain information. He's completely intuitive and reactive. That's what makes man for instinct. You can't prepare for someone who thrives in chaos. Gaethje told ESPN he spent the entire training camp for Pimblett telling himself that Pimblett was going to hurt him, forcing himself into that primal place. And when Gaethje goes to that primal place, he believes he's one of the most dangerous fighters in the world. The evidence supports him. The intense output. He can run a distance at a sprinter's speed, and his mental toughness allows him to block out pain and distractions like swatting away a fly. That combination creates a fighter who never breaks. The future looks clear for Gaethje. He's set to face Ilia Topuria for the undisputed lightweight championship once Topuria returns from personal leave. That fight could happen at the planned White House fight card in June 2026. But Gaethje isn't just fighting for belts anymore. He's fighting for legacy. He's already cemented himself as one of the greatest lightweights of all time. Fight Matrix ranks him as the 9th greatest lightweight ever. He has 15 post-fight bonuses in 15 UFC fights, tied with Joe Lauzon and Charles Oliveira for the most in lightweight history. He's the only fighter to win the interim title twice. He's the oldest to ever win a lightweight title. His resume includes wins over elite names and wars with legends. But there's one thing missing: an undisputed championship. Gaethje has fought for the title twice before, losing to Khabib Nurmagomedov in 2020 and Charles Oliveira in 2022. Both times, he came up short via submission. The Oliveira fight was particularly frustrating because Gaethje knocked him down twice before getting caught in a rear naked choke in round 1. Now, at 37, Gaethje might be running out of chances. His recent knockout loss to Max Holloway at UFC 300 raised questions about his chin. Gaethje himself said if he gets knocked out again, he'll retire. That makes every fight from here forward high stakes. But that's exactly where Gaethje thrives. He doesn't want easy fights. He doesn't want tune-up. He wants the biggest challenges in the most intense environments. That mentality is why fighters fear him. The numbers tell a story, but they don't capture the full truth. Gaethje's record is 27-5. He's been knocked out by Eddie Alvarez and Max Holloway. He's been submitted by Khabib Nurmagomedov and Charles Oliveira twice. On paper, he's beatable, but the fighters who beat him paid a price. Alvarez's face was destroyed. Poirier's leg was torn. Khabib called him the hardest hitter he ever faced. Oliveira got knocked down twice before finishing him. Even in defeat, Gaethje leaves a mark, and the fighters who lost to him, they remember it forever. Luis Palomino said fighting Gaethje was like facing someone who was mentally not there, but also completely aware of everything. Michael Chandler said sharing the cage with Gaethje was like being in a tornado. Nick Newell said you can beat him, but you'll never break him. Those aren't just compliments, they're warnings. When fighters watch tape on Gaethje, they're not just studying techniques, they're preparing themselves mentally for suffering. They're asking themselves if they're truly ready to go to that place, and many of them aren't. When Dan Hooker pulled out of UFC 313 with a hand injury, Gaethje listed fighters who said no to replacing him. Armand Tsarukyan, Charles Oliveira, Max Holloway, Dustin Poirier, and Renato Moicano all declined for various reasons. Some were too heavy, some wanted more time. But the underlying truth is clear: nobody wants a short-notice fight with Justin Gaethje unless they absolutely have to. Violence is Gaethje's currency, and he spends it freely. His signature celebration after wins is a backflip off the top of the cage. In 2016, the Colorado State Athletic Commission suspended him indefinitely for unsportsmanlike conduct after doing it at WSOF 29. The suspension was lifted a day later, but the message was clear: Gaethje does whatever he wants. His fighting style is the same. He throws leg kicks that opponents know are coming but can't stop. He lands body shots to the solar plexus that shut down entire game plans. He pressures forward relentlessly, stealing momentum and confidence. Against Pimblett, Gaethje admitted he knew he had to put Pimblett on his back foot immediately because Pimblett is dangerous with great timing. The strategy worked. By the end of round 1, Pimblett was already dealing with swelling around his right eye. By round 2, he was bleeding badly, and his corner was in panic mode. By round 4, he was surviving on his own. And in round 5, both men were exhausted but still swinging until the final bell. The crowd gave them a standing ovation. Both fighters embraced after the decision was read. Pimblett said there was no man he'd rather lose to than the highlight. Gaethje responded by praising Pimblett's toughness, saying Scousers really don't get knocked out. That mutual respect exists because both men went to a place few fighters are willing to go, but only one of them lives there permanently. The question isn't whether fighters are scared of Justin Gaethje. The question is whether they're brave enough to admit it. Fear isn't weakness. Fear is recognition of reality. And the reality is that fighting Justin Gaethje means 15 to 25 minutes of hell. It means pain that lasts long after the final bell. It means testing yourself in ways you've never been tested before. Some fighters embrace that challenge. Most avoid it. Paddy Pimblett embraced it and lost his undefeated UFC record. But he also proved he belongs at the highest level. He showed he can take punishment from one of the hardest hitters in the sport and survive. Now, as Gaethje prepares for Ilia Topuria and the chance to finally claim undisputed gold, the rest of the lightweight division watches nervously, because they know if Topuria gets hurt or pulls out, someone else will have to step in. Someone else will have to face the highlight. Someone else will have to answer the question, are you willing to go to war with Justin Gaethje? For most fighters, the honest answer is no. And that's exactly why Justin Gaethje remains the most feared man in the UFC lightweight division. Before we go, drop a comment and let us know what you think. Will Gaethje finally capture undisputed gold against Topuria? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to MMA Rivals so you don't miss the next ones.